Well, we're back in the stand. This will be my last hunt or deer hunt for this year. My son and I are out. It is Saturday, January 14th. Tomorrow is Sunday. We have church and several other things that we have to do, so we will not be hunting the last day. So this will be my last hunting video for this year. Had a couple of successes. Wasn't able to get all of them on video, but I was able to get my doe on video and my son's recovery. Just a few things that we got to enjoy this year. So today we're set up on a ridge that I came out and hunted about 4 or 5 days ago. Had some action here in the morning, and this looks like a pretty good thoroughfare. So we're going to stay set up here and see what happens. So stay tuned and let's see what happens. Guys, that's a wrap for the season. The short little video you just saw before this is my son and I's last attempt to get out, do some hunting. Didn't go well, we didn't see anything. And it is January 16th, and I am going to start working on a project. So to give you a little background of what has happened this year, I did get a doe with my bow for the first time. My son got a nice buck with his crossbow, and had a lot of good days out. Was able to have some success, but rifle season was fairly uneventful. Started off very cold and had snow, which I was hunting a new property that weekend and really didn't have a good setup. Saw a few but couldn't get a shot. Only got a couple more days during rifle season to go, and we took a shot at a doe and missed, or I should say my son did, and missed. But other than that, deer season is a wrap, and now it's on to other things such as coyotes and food plotting. So one of the things that I'm doing today is getting into a food plot, and the reason is the videos that you guys have watched on my channel from my horseshoe plot and my original clover plot in Logging Road, is those properties are either up for sale or have already sold. So my horseshoe plot has sold. That's actually where my son shot his buck. And the original plot that I have, the clover plot, is currently up for sale. And so I am standing in the middle of what hopefully is going to become my new food plot on a property that I have permission to hunt. It is a family farm. It is not going out of the family anytime soon. And so the hope here would be that I can continue hunting this property for a few years to come. And this is a wooded section above cow pasture. They do not run cows in here. They do not allow cows up in here. And so I'm going to put in a food plot over this spring for hunting over next year. So I'm going to take a few videos today, and as I start going into this plot a little bit more, I'll bring you some videos on how I'm doing it and what I'm doing. Today is really this. I'm going in and clearing out some of the big cedars that are in the middle and some of the edges, and trying to walk and get an idea of how I want this to look and how I want this to shape. Again, I'm using basically ease of access and what's already here. I don't have a lot of equipment, so I'm literally using either old four-wheeler trails or old travel trails through this that the owner used to use 8-10 years ago, but is starting to overgrow. So deer are using these, and I'm going to utilize them by putting in some food plots along the trails and really try not to disturb a whole lot. So stay tuned as I take some video today of just some very general beginning work, and stay tuned to the channel for the rest of those videos that hopefully will be coming to you throughout the spring. So hope you guys had a great season, got some stuff done. Stay tuned and see how this starts to shape up. You guys have been watching, this is literally just the start, and took out a couple of big cedar trees today, a couple smaller groups of cedar trees, and as you can see behind me, there's still several more to go to open this up. In fact, landowner says don't really care about the eastern red cedars anyway. They kind of get in the way and overgrow, so feel free to cut them down. There's some old maybe some hickories in here, and some just little native species, no oaks, no white oaks and things like that up here behind me and around, that I'm going to walk a little bit here with my HuntStand app and get a general idea of how much space this is going to provide for me, what I can cut out, or at least what I feel I can cut out without really causing a lot of damage to the land, and then getting some more ideas on how to set this up. So I've already got a couple ideas for a double stand for my son and I to put up in this plot. I will also be looking at some trees that I might be able to saddle hunt on some different winds. The problem is getting in, and so not 100 yards up the hill is a small parking area with a hole in the fence that I can pull into and walk down here if the wind is blowing uphill. And so if the wind is blowing down the hill to the pasture, I've got to come all the way across from the house, which is almost a half a mile. So there's definitely some access things that I want to look at in here before I do too much more. But overall, as you watched in the video, basically just getting my hands dirty from now on for the next couple of months of clearing this out, feathering the edge with the brush so that I have a couple of entry and exit points. I know for a fact that a little further down the hill during, sorry, I got some stuff in my face there, didn't see that up there. Just down the hill when it was rifle season, we saw some bedding in the snow, probably 50 yards or so from this area anyway. And so I've left that alone, hoping that maybe if that's a regular bedding area, we can sneak into the north side of this 100 yards away from it and set up and maybe catch them coming in and out or through. So going to set up my camera. I'm going to use a little bit of a homemade blend of deer cane, which is basically strawberry jello mix, some Karo syrup, some salt, some warm water, and some strawberry ice cream topping that I found off of YouTube. I've used it before. It does seem to at least attract the deer. I wouldn't say that there's any mineral value to it. So I'm going to put out a mineral block and pour that over the top on an old stump. So I'm going to be doing that here in just a minute, and I'm going to wrap up this video for today. So guys, what you're watching right now is actually a video from where my camera is going to be. This tree right over here that you see right here in the camera is an old hickory, or I should say a little hickory tree that I've trimmed everything out from around and under and left one branch sticking out. In my horseshoe plot, if you remember, there was a tree out in the middle of it, much like that one. It's a little hickory tree, had a branch sticking out over it. It became a very central scrape. And so what I'm going to try to do is start a scrape on that as the year continues. Right now, I'm not going to mess with it. I'm just going to leave it there in case they start doing that themselves. And then I can just establish that maybe more into season. And then directly over my shoulder here in just a minute, I'm going to go set up my mineral lick on an old stump that's there. I don't really want it in the middle of the plot per se. And the reason for that is because of all the mineral and the salt, it tends to leach into the soil and is not as productive for growth. So that is not going to be much more in the food plot. In fact, I'm going to leave a lot of that, maybe a few trees out of that area that I'm going to clear out. But for the most part, that's not going to be cleared much more. And so I'm going to put my mineral lick there on an existing stump. They will begin to work that stump and eat that stump as the mineral and salt and everything goes into it. Kind of a natural place for them to just kind of chew on it. It's not sitting in the mud or in the ground, which some people would say is not a good location for a mineral lick. I've used both. Actually on my home farm, I put a couple of 50-pound bags of mineral salt and some other mixtures into the ground. I had plenty of deer activity. The herd is fairly healthy there, never had any issues with, disease or bugs or anything like that. But everybody does things a little bit differently. I have the stump available. I didn't have to make it. It's already there. So I'm going to use it. And so I'm going to go ahead and hit this and then go pick up our blind for deer season. I'm going to call it a day.